welcome back to Party Style. This is Gwen Morrell, and I am back to talk to you about everything regarding parties and how you should party with style. For those of you that didn't listen in last time, I am the owner and the event planner and chief operator of PS Parties and Events, and we are a full-service wedding and party event planners, decorators, the whole 9 yards. You name it, we will handle the details, you create the memories. To give you a little bit of background, again, I have been in the party industry for over 20 years, and I originally started parties by being a balloon decorator. From that point, learning everything about doing balloon sculptures and then balloon deliveries for every type of occasion you can imagine, I developed my business into more of an event planning business where I was able to help people from step one, I want to have a party, all the way through executing and hosting what we believe and we feel have been fabulous parties and events, again, over the last 20 years. So I love talking about parties. It happens to be my passion. During the day, I have had a very successful career as a legal assistant, as a banker, as a tax preparer, you name it. I've done everything financial. This is my creative side. This is the part of me that gets, as they say, my juices flowing and all my creative talents get to come to light. I grew up on the East Coast. I have been transplanted here in Omaha for over 25, actually over 27 years now, and met and married the love of my life, who happens to be an Omaha native, and that's what kept me here. A lot of people ask me all the time, why did you come to Omaha? But Omaha is a very vibrant and lively city, and there are lots of events that are occurring all the time in this city, mainly through the creativity and through the help of other people who fashion themselves as party planners, event planners, you name it, we do it. My background in the party and event planning business also entails several years of working in pageantry. And this would be everything from your church pageants to state pageants for the Miss USA and Miss Universe circuit. I've had the benefit of being involved backstage from beginning to end on many pageants and seeing many young ladies realize their dreams. I can do parties, and I have done parties, I say, from A to Z. A to Z, you name it, and we've done it. So since, doing parties and being a decorator, whether it was, I always say, one day I blew up a balloon and I was hooked. It wasn't flowers, it wasn't glassware, it wasn't anything that I ever thought it would be. It started with balloons, and here we are. But I love flowers, candles, glassware, balloons, ribbons, linens, drapery, bows, any type of theme that you can imagine. Our job is to create the perfect decorations to set off your event. And whether you're a newbie hostess or you're someone who's been entertaining for years, we can help you. PS Parties and Events will handle the details while you create the memories. One of our challenges for 2014-2015 is that we are going to start hosting our events and our own events, and on Saturday, this Saturday, December 13, 2014, we will actually be hosting a wedding event. And the wedding event is actually a wedding chapel, and it will be held right here in Omaha at the Convention Center, which is the Ramada Plaza Cocoa Key Convention Center on 72nd and Grover. And what's going to happen is we have brides and grooms who have reserved their spots, and they will come in on Saturday at their reserved time, and we will see that they are married and pronounced husband and wife, and then go off and have their own little celebrations. I grew up as a minister's daughter, and my father spent many, I shouldn't say spent, but he spent many years as a minister. He passed away, but he spent many years as a minister, and he did a lot of weddings. And not only did he do a lot of weddings at one of the 4 or 5 churches that he's in charge of, he also did weddings in our home. And so as a little girl growing up and seeing him do all of these weddings, I always dreamed of having my own wedding chapel. And so instead of waiting until I actually could have my own chapel, I came up with this idea that I would be, if you will, a traveling chapel. And so we set up a very nice chapel in a venue easy access. Weather should not be a concern, which, by the way, this weekend is going to be a beautiful weekend. So for those brides and grooms who are getting married this weekend on 12, 13, 14, you should already know that the 13th is a lucky day. I do believe that. But it's going to be a beautiful day, and we're going to have great weddings. So weddings on 12, 13, 14, a wedding event. We will also be hosting a wedding event on Valentine's Day 2015. It is also on a Saturday, February 14th, for those of you that have forgotten when Valentine's Day is. And you don't have to worry about planning, and you don't have to worry about breaking the budget and saving, because we will handle everything. We have packages. We still have a few slots available for this Saturday, 12, 13, 14, for anyone who is getting married and hasn't quite decided that the courthouse is good enough for them. You'll be able to get a much better deal if you give us a call. You need to visit us at PS Parties, www.pspartiesandevents.com, and that is P as in Paul, S as in Sam, parties. The word "and" is spelled out, events.com. You can also email me at psevents@cox.net. The last time that I came and spoke with you, I put out an offer to anyone who may have some questions that they may have, specific questions about parties. And I did get a couple of emails, so thank you for those people who did email me, and we're going to discuss those in a little bit. But one of the things I want to say about party and event planners, and then I'm going to spend some time talking about do-it-yourselfers, because I do believe that you can certainly have a great event if you did it yourself. You just need to, if you're not one of those people who it comes very naturally to, you just need to do a little planning and prepare yourself. But how PSM Parties can help you is we'll listen to your wishes. That's the purpose of it. The PS stands for personally stated. So we always feel that it's important that we hear what it is that you want to convey with your event, with your party, with your event. We listen to your wishes. We make recommendations. I spend a lot of time, my free time, which I don't always have a lot of, but you know, this is my business, this is my love. So when I do find the free time, it is nothing for me to sit on the computer for hours and actually comb for different ideas. For those of you party planners or crafters or people out there who just enjoy this, Pinterest is addictive, and it is the thing to do right now. And so just going on different websites and looking and seeing what's available and what ideas people have, it just generates ideas in your mind. And so, you know, I do those same things. You know, I don't always try to copy. I try to make it personalized. But it's sites like those, just like decorating sites, they give you permission to do things that you probably never thought about doing. And so we'll listen to your wishes. We'll make some recommendations. We'll get together some ideas, and we'll present those to you so that you can have a great event. We'll help you create and stick to a budget. You know, on the last time we were here, we talked about budgets and how important budgets are. There is a psychology, and actually I had hoped to have someone here who could talk to you a little bit more about why people celebrate and how easy it is to get out of budget and to get overwhelmed. Weddings and events sometimes tend to take on a life of their own. And so if you have someone there that's advising you and can kind of reel you in, then it's not so bad, and it just is one less thing for you to have to struggle with. But budgets are very important. I do believe that you can have an absolutely fabulous event. You don't have to break the bank, and that's my goal generally. Is I love to put on the fabulous $500 wedding or the fabulous $500 event. No one needs to know that it costs that, but I know that it can be done. So we also make sure at PS Parties and Events that your event flows seamlessly and it's always on schedule. There's nothing worse. We all have a story about an event that didn't start for an hour, or worse than that, 3 or 4 hours. I was a witness. I was not involved, but I was a guest, and I was at a wedding once that started 3.5, almost 4 hours late. And that's just, You know, things happen, but again, if you plan, I'm a planner, I use a lot of checklists, and I use a lot of time schedules, and I like to adhere to those. And when you're in the middle of an event, that's not something that you want to be concerned with, so you make sure that you either hire someone or enlist the help of someone who can help you to stay on schedule. Things with parties and events will not always go as planned, but no one at the event should ever know that. That's the purpose of a good schedule and a good planner. We will stress over the details, so you don't have to. Okay, so details, again, we'll handle the details. You create the memories, no matter whether it's a birthday party, it could be a milestone birthday party, a 30th. It could be a 10th birthday party. It can be the first birthday party. It can be a 50th, a 70th. It can be a wedding. It could be an anniversary celebration. Whatever it is, there will be things that happen that were not planned for. And so we'll stress over those details. This is something that you should not know about until after the event is over or until someone mentions it to you. I hear from a lot of clients, brides and other clients, brides, corporate clients, etc. And one of the things that they say is that, you know, their planner or their hostess or host did not handle all the details, and that they felt that they were pulled away from their party way too often to answer questions that should have just been taken care of. So because of my experience and being able to communicate with people on all different levels, I think that that's something that I know that's something that we offer. We stress over the details, and you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't have to. We remain cool under pressure, and we also will keep you calm too. I have an upcoming wedding that they have already warned me, the family has already warned me that there are several aunts in the family who may or may not, just because they're not involved as much as they would like to be involved, they may create a few distractions during the wedding. They may be purposely attempting to sabotage, if you will, their niece's wedding. We all hope and pray that that doesn't happen, but we also know that it does. And so we will remain cool. We will be able to keep people. We're never rude, and we never overstep our bounds. It's always about the event and getting, you know, through the event, getting the message and keeping the tone of the event light and lively and festive and all those things. But we will remain cool under pressure, and we will diffuse any situations that happen to come along at some point. Probably one of the biggest things that we pride ourselves in doing at PS Parties and Events is we do quality work. And we do this work so that you will have long-lasting and happy memories of your event. There's only, for most of us, you know, we have one 21st birthday, we have one wedding, we have one graduation ceremony. You know, these are events that are memorable, and the last thing that you want to come out of that is a bad memory. And you don't want anything to happen that will be the one thing that you remember, or the one thing that everyone remembers about your event. All right, so I utilize a ton of resources, and they become my source of inspiration. I can be that source of inspiration, and any wedding planner or party planner, can be that source of inspiration for you. So I did get a couple of questions that I wanted to run through this week, because they were actually very interesting questions. One of the questions that came up, I got it from more than one source. And when you start talking about parties or events, one thing that comes up very, very often is like, do I need to entertain the kids? Do I even need to have kids there? So, you know, party people, let's talk about children. Nobody loves kids more than Miss Gwen. But what we need to do is, if we are going to have a party and we are going to decide not to have children, number one, stick with that and realize that you will probably alienate some people. But that's fine. You stick with your convictions. You need to let your event planner or the people that are hosting the party for you, you just need to let them know what your position is. But if you are going to have children at your event, you just need to make sure that the event venue is conducive to children, and you also need to make sure, I believe, as a smart party host, I believe it's contingent upon us to entertain kids. And so I've had weddings and corporate events and birthday parties and graduations, sometimes solemn testimonial dinners, fundraisers, fundraising events and the like. And there have been children there, and you just have to figure out what is it that you can do to entertain them. Well, now we have smartphones and we have tablets and we have, they can put a headphone in, and if you can keep a child entertained that way, yeah, not the best, but it definitely will work. But at the very least, have an area where children can do crafts. We have many, many resources out there now. We have crafts that children can do, quiet crafts. Let the children be creative. There was a wedding, and it's so funny because I use a lot of examples. The only thing I can use would be events that I have done and I have been involved in. But one of the events that comes to mind to me, and people will tell me during the week that, oh, you talked about my event, 10 years ago or 2 years ago or last month. And I probably did, so I'm not mentioning any names, so I think that's okay. But I remember doing an event, and this was several years ago, but we did an event, and it was a very upscale wedding reception, fine china and bling everywhere, and it was nice. It was nice because it wasn't cut rate, and they had paid a lot of money, and they had saved a long time for their wedding reception. They didn't want to leave the children out, but they also didn't want the children to take over the reception, if you will. And so there was a table, actually a little alcove off of right there where the reception was being held, but a little alcove, if you will, where they were able to set up long banquet style tables. The tables were decorated. They had different decorations than the majority of the reception, but when you first walked in and you looked at the room, you couldn't see this table. You just knew this was the area where they were going to be. And they solicited the help of some of the older children in the family. It was a very family-oriented wedding, but they solicited the help of some of the older children in the family, the teens, if you will, and they asked them to do shifts. And what they did is they did shifts working the craft area, the children's table. And they had crayons and coloring pages, and they had little foam stickers, and they made cards, and they were able to write stories about what they had experienced in going to the wedding and what their favorite part about the wedding was. And the bride and groom did make a serious attempt to go over and say hi to the children and tell them how much they appreciated them. They had snacks for them in that area, most of which did not contain red dye and sugar because, of course, that sets children off. And but they accommodated the children. So if you're going to have a party, you do need to entertain the kids, because if you don't entertain them, they will completely take over your event, and you'll wish that you would have spent that time taking them. What are some of the next question I got a lot of is, what are some of your best budget-friendly tips? The best budget-friendly tips that I can give you would be to, if you have time and you're having a party, the best thing that you can possibly do is to look at the thrift stores, talk to people that you know, find out what it is that they have that you may be able to use, so that way it eliminates you having to buy a lot of things. I recently did a 25th wedding anniversary, and it was beautiful. 25th anniversary is a silver anniversary, and so the silver anniversary is like, how am I going to find silver this and silver that? And believe it or not, just shopping the thrift stores, I found the most beautiful silver frames that had a very small a very small engraving on them that was for a corporation. They evidently had a giveaway or whatever the case may be, but they had their corporate logo engraved. Beautiful frames. They were new in the package with this corporate logo on them. And all we had to do was we ended up putting a flower and other types of embellishment over that, and it was very, very small. But we're able to use those frames in decorating the tables and putting the pictures of the couple throughout the 25 years. But those frames ended up costing me, I mean, they were nice silver frames. I probably would have spent $10 for them each retail, and I ended up finding them for 99 cents because I bought them at a thrift store. And so I just always say, don't feel as if just because it comes from a thrift store, a sales store, a dollar store, whatever, that it has to look cheap. And it's not necessarily going to be cheap. There are, I talked about this last week, there are lots of events that people have that, you know, they don't need those 25 beautiful tall centerpieces or glass bowls after the wedding is over, and people do sell those. And I have found many, many items that are in my stockpile of things that can be used for weddings through thrift stores and at garage sales, etc. So honestly, it's probably one of my best budget-friendly tips. Is just shop around, you know, always be on the lookout. And then the other thing, the other budget-friendly, is shop off-season. There are major, beautiful, beautiful holiday decorations out right now. And after, I mean, day after Christmas, on December 26th, if you know you're having a party next year, you're having a wedding or you're having a corporate event, and you're not exactly sure what, you know, the day after Christmas, I would encourage you to start looking in some of the major retailers and looking at their decorations, their ornaments and things, the ribbons, things that they have right now that will be, or that at day after Christmas will be 50% off. You know, even just a matter of 2 to 3 days after Christmas, they'll be 75% off. And for a, again, we do a lot of different parties, but weddings are definitely the one that we do the most of. But a wedding that I did in 2013 was all peacock, and there were the most beautiful peacock decorations. Not all of them were appropriate, but a lot of them were. A lot of the colors were very appropriate. And after Christmas, I was able to get about $300 worth of Christmas decorations at 75% off. That's $75. And so for someone who is trying to, and they're beautiful, there's nothing wrong with them, they were leftover things that didn't sell. And you know, obviously I'm not saying, you know, to buy Christmas ornaments and use them, but there are flowers, there are ribbons, there are picks, there are lots of different things that you can use, and you can utilize them in a different, you can use them in a different way than what they may have originally been intended to be used for. But that's probably one of my biggest budget-saving, budget-friendly tips. The other one that I would say would be to, if your budget is a little tight, always know that you can rent just about everything. You can rent just about anything. And so utilize the rental companies, especially for items that you need 20, 30, 200 or 300 of, you know, such as dinnerware and flatware, that you're never going to use them, so why would you buy them? You know, so go rent them. These things rent for pennies on the dollar, and you definitely will be able to you know, to save money that way. So, but if you're not, you know, if you're not really that comfortable with using someone else to, you know, help you get through your party, but you also want to, you know, have a really nice event, be a DIY party host, be a do-it-yourself bride. So we talk about different options and ideas. Again, the internet is so full of ideas and creativity. If you just go to whatever search engine you happen to be in love with and type in the type of your event, ideas for a graduation party, ideas for a wedding reception, idea for a baby shower, and you'd just be amazed at the number of ideas that come up. And you know, you should certainly feel free to take those ideas and make them your own, or you should feel comfortable with taking those ideas and building upon them. That's what I do a lot. And I said Pinterest is very addictive. I do spend a lot of time on Pinterest. I also love Etsy because you can purchase items on those websites. I'm not advertising for them and not getting paid at all, but just to give you some ideas. And there's many, many more. I mean, I probably have 20 or 30 different sites saved in my favorites, and I use them all the time. I use them all the time. So, the do-it-yourself party host or do-it-yourself bride, you have permission to be as creative as you possibly can. One thing about visiting the internet and visiting sites and getting ideas is that, again, it gives you that permission to try things, thinking outside of the box, if you will. And I have just found that there are very few things that are so out there that no one will get it. No one will get it. So you go out there, you see what it is that's available. You can certainly email me at psevents@cox.net and give me an idea of what it is, the message that you're trying to convey, and I can kind of lead you through what it is that you are trying to do. So the other question that I got a lot of is, what would be my best decorating advice? So in a nutshell, the best decorating advice that I can give you is, once you've determined what your venue or where your venue is going to be, and I don't care if that is in your home or if that is in a rented space, if it is a closet, if it's a tent outside, all of these venues I'm mentioning, I've actually done some type of event in. It was a very large closet, but a closet nevertheless, a storage room, if you will, not necessarily a closet. But my best decorating advice is, if you're going to have tables, which most events do have tables, is make sure that your tables are covered nicely. If you're able to use linens, and then lighting. If you do linens and lighting and do absolutely nothing else to a party venue, then you can get away with that. Even if you don't have an idea about what you're going to possibly put on a table for a centerpiece, you just need to make sure that your tables are always covered. I mean, even if it's a basic birthday party, you have a little kid's birthday party where you have a $20 budget for decorating, I'm going to tell you to make sure that you have some fun decorative colors, that you cover all of your tables, and that if it's inside, there are other things you can do, but table coverings and lighting, I think that is the base. And if you do just that, you can turn absolutely any venue into a place that people will get it when they walk in the door. When they walk in the door, they will get that this is what you're trying to do. The other thing now, since it is Christmas, and here we are again, we have just about, 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks before Christmas. It's hard to believe that Christmas is up and I haven't done any holiday decorating, because my party is all focused on the wedding event, our wedding chapel, which is going to be, again, this Saturday, 12, 13, 14. 12, 13, 14, neither one of you should ever forget your anniversary, okay? 12, 13, 14. I'm still pushing. I have one slot available at 11 o'clock, and I'm trying to get someone to get that 11 o'clock on 12, 13, 14. So they can say, we got married at 11 on 12, 13, 14. So for those numbers people out there, you need to get in touch with us at www.pspartiesandevents.com, because we have an 11 o'clock spot just waiting for you. But holiday partying, it is that time of year again. And some of us love to host holiday parties, and others would just rather not be involved. So I'm not talking about the ones that your corporation is holding, and the ones that you have to go to, because of your spouse's commitments, etc. But, maybe this is just your holiday party. And what you want to do is, before you even begin planning your holiday party, ask yourself, why are you having the party? What is the purpose of the gathering? Is it to just celebrate the season? We all know that Jesus is the reason for the season, or is it just because you have a new home and now you want to invite all of your friends and family in? Do you want to invite some people in just to show it all off? Whatever the case may be, decide first and foremost, what is your reason for having the party? Your reason for having the party will determine your theme. It should determine your theme. So we have talked to a lot of people, and this time of year, the reason they have holiday parties is to celebrate a long year of successes, perhaps some challenges. I don't believe in failures. I do believe in challenges. And so I know in my company we have holiday parties because we want to celebrate the successes that we've experienced throughout the year. So, you know, at that point, once you determine what it is that you want to have the party for, then you can determine whether it's going to be formal, is it going to be informal, those types of things. So there are different trends that are streaming this year, and depending upon you and what type of party it is, you know, once you determine that, that could determine your menu. Obviously, if it's a formal sit-down dinner, the menu is going to be completely different than if you're just going to have a gathering of, you know, where people are going to be moving all the time and they're going to be socializing and reconnecting and congratulating each other on work well done or whatever the case may be. So, you know, deciding on what type of party it is when you're doing your holiday party will help you determine the type of food. You know, finger foods are definitely more comfortable when you are in a social environment where you're moving around quite a bit. Okay, so this is also going to help you determine whether or not you have the proper items that you need. Again, I just mentioned earlier about renting. Oh my goodness, renting is probably one of the best things that you can do when you're having a holiday party. You know, if you want to make it a little classier and you don't want to go out and you don't want to buy 55 china plates and 100 pieces of cutlery, absolutely you should rent those items. They rent very, very inexpensively. And the rental companies here in Omaha anyway, they're great to work with. They've been extremely accommodating for any time I've ever gone to them, and you'd be surprised. They're kind of like wedding planners like myself. They have a lot of different things that you wouldn't even think about. But you can rent everything from a bouncy house to a tent to tables and chairs. Like I said, your linens, if you don't want to go out and buy 35 linen tablecloths, go and rent them. Even 10 tablecloths, you want to rent them. Napkins and all those different things. Even if you are going to have entertainment and a slideshow, you can certainly rent those things from a rental company and have a great party. So if you see that I am now joined by my colleague and friend, Miss Gina.
Good evening.
Hi, Miss Gina. And I've just been talking a little bit. Now it's getting to the point where we will talk holiday party planning. Holiday party planning is where I am, and it depends on, you know, again, what your theme is.
Right.
You know, what the theme is, and corporations and individuals, and, you know, setting a goal for the party and then seeing that party goes through. But there was recent, I'm referring to an article just locally that was one of the women's magazines, and that was one of the topics in there this month was planning a holiday party, and it's all about preparation. It's all about preparation. But why don't you come on up here and reintroduce yourself, and then we will get back to talking about the preparing for holiday parties and getting through that. Because I know that you're really busy right now with holidays.
Yes, that's an understatement. But good evening, everyone. My name is Gina Dorch, and I am the senior designer for Joyous Occasions, gift wrapping services, and also a partner of Jumping the Broom bridal and event planning services as well. So I am here this evening with Ms. Gwen to work on and get prepared for our 12/13 wedding event. And so myself as well, I have been in the designing and event planning for approximately 20 years.
At least 20 years.
At least, yes. And so I learned quickly to coordinate and put things together on the fly. And so my designing skills have improved through the years thanks to following my partners here. And so, again, we're getting set up for holiday time. And for some folks, it's even as simple as hosting your families this year.
Absolutely.
We've got a couple of calls in for folks that are just, this is their first time, maybe newlyweds.
How fun.
Are prepared and wanting to prepare something for the holidays. And so it's always fun to see everything kind of come together.
Absolutely,
and not
yeah.
be overwhelmed
Exactly.
with
yeah.
preparing a meal. You're nervous, first of all, because you're hosting your family, and then, or a new family in this
The
instance.
new family.
The new
That's
family.
the nerve-wracking part,
The
right.
new family. And so again, it's good when you can kind of sit down and get your thoughts together, get some assistance on the planning and the preparation. And I know as I was coming in, I heard you talking about the rental. Rental is so much easier. It's just a matter of rinsing the dishes, and they come and take them away from you. So,
and you know, I've done a lot of corporate events and
Yes.
fundraisers, and you don't even have to rinse the dishes. You just have to make sure the food is. You have to scrape the dishes.
Right.
That's a huge difference. There's a huge difference. And you know, if you have to get your hands wet, then what's the purpose?
Exactly.
But just scraping the dishes and delivering them back to the rental place dirty. That's what you pay for it, but you don't pay a premium for it. It's just, I think that a lot of people don't utilize those things, and you know, it's a perfect time for you to pull out all the stops, if you will, and spend that little extra money, especially like you said, newlyweds.
a lot of folks just don't know that you can rent
Exactly.
china, everything from the china, the cutlery, the glassware, everything. Even pots and pans.
Pots and
But a
pans.
lot of folks just are not aware. When they hear rental, they think bouncies and popcorn machines, and it's really not like that anymore. The rental business, and I guess maybe because we do this, we were
Right.
very familiar with what they carried as far
Absolutely.
as all of those necessity accessories.
Exactly. I was at a party. It was a birthday party, and a young lady hosted it for her mother, and she hosted it in her apartment, and she was fortunate enough to be able to move her living room furniture out into a little den area or patio. So her living room was just this big square, and she rented, you know, the cute, not just your, you know, $25 card tables, but nice folding tables and nice, really cute folding chairs. And it was a wine and cheese. It was a wine tasting and cheese party, and for her mother's birthday. And that was fun. But that was the theme, and you know, the tables were covered very nice. And she literally said it. I think she was able to get 5 or 6 tables in her living room, and so she was able to seat 20 people, whereas obviously 20 people sitting in her living room would not have worked with a couch and a love seat. But she rented them and was just amazed at the amount of money that she ended up having to pay. I mean, I'm talking like under $50 that she was able to rent these 4 or 5 tables, I can't remember what it was, and these 20 chairs. So it is, so renting is, I said before, they said, what, you know, some of your best, I talked a little bit about what are some of your best budget-friendly tips, and by far it would be renting any and everything that you need, so that you don't have to have the expense of purchasing all these items and then the worry about what are you going to do with all those
Afterwards.
items.
Exactly.
Now, in a corporate event setting, I know oftentimes corporations will buy the centerpieces, because then they end up, nonprofits particularly, they end up auctioning off
Correct.
the centerpieces as fundraising, as part of their fundraising efforts.
Or awarding employees with them.
Exactly.
Correct.
Exactly. So that's good. So you can do that. But, you know, so again, we're big on rentals. We're big on rentals. And I think that Gina and I could open up our own rental company.
Yes.
Because
Yes,
of
we
the
could.
inventory. And we talk
Yes,
about this all the
yes, we
time, the
could.
inventory that we've managed to accumulate over the
Exactly,
years. Just making
exactly.
sure that everyone has everything that they need for their upcoming event. And I talked about this young lady, but then also wanted to talk about, you may look to use rental space. And, you know, sometimes people always they take into consideration, well, I don't want to spend $100, $500, whatever the case may be on a rental space. that just doesn't make it cost effective for me. But again, think outside the box. And we think outside the box. Look for rental spaces in restaurants or at different, there's bars and pubs and places that will literally let you use their space for free. And sometimes they have limitations as far, you have to have at least, you have to spend so much, in their food and,
Right.
drinks and things there. But sometimes, they let you bring in things,
Right.
just to kind of add on to it. So I think back to the
And
time.
check into your local schools.
Yes.
Schools, believe it or not, they are there for community use. So check with your local schools. There's a process, of course,
Sure.
that you have to go through to get an application to utilize that facility.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like attending your child's holiday event or even open houses and you think, wow,
Sure.
this could be very nice, check with your local schools. Also your area churches.
Area churches,
Area
absolutely.
churches, definitely.
Definitely. So, what's the most appropriate venue for your gathering? I mentioned because I know that I recently had a baby shower, and it was at a pub and grill, and some people would consider it a bar, but the party room was not the bar. It was off of there, and so you have to consider, like the people that you're inviting to the event. I talked a lot
That's
about
true.
children earlier. If you're going to have kids at a party, then your traditional bar is probably not the best place.
I would agree.
In my opinion, and this is strictly my opinion. So strictly my opinion, and plus they may be time limited and when you can
Correct.
have the children there. But always look around and think. I say it over and over and over again. Just you have to think outside the box as far as venues. And I have done weddings and bridal showers and baby showers in some of the most unconventional places ever. And
Not a barn yet. We're working
not
on
a
the
barn yet. I know. I don't know if I'm working a barn, but burlap and lace is
Oh,
the
yes.
hot thing
Oh,
for
yes.
For romance this
That's
year.
the only place we haven't had
And
to
so-
go and redecorate.
Is a barn,
That's
but
right.
we will say we have done some barn-like places.
Exactly.
So, but your rooms at restaurants, my son was at a scholarship banquet. Well, this was last year, a couple years ago when he graduated high school, and it was at a very popular restaurant here, and I had no idea that they had a party room off, in the back. You didn't even really have to go too far through the restaurant. And you get in there, and it was very nicely decorated. They had balloon columns and stars, to recognize the people that were receiving their scholarship awards. So again, this is a restaurant that we go to all the time. I didn't realize that. Probably one of the most surprising venues that I've come across is there is a local grocery store, and I don't say anyone's name because I'm not getting paid to advertise for anyone else, and I'm out here promoting PS parties and events first and foremost. But there's a local grocery store chain that has party rooms within the grocery store. Did you know that?
I was not aware of that. No.
And so we'll talk about that off air, but I have been to nonprofit, I've been to board meetings there, I've been to a bridal shower there, and I was at an anniversary party. And
Wow.
in a grocery store. And for those of you listeners here in Omaha, you probably know what I'm talking about, but I would have never known. And it's not someplace, you don't see a sign when you walk in the grocery store and you're out there getting your bread and milk and eggs and cheese and butter that, we have party rooms available.
Wow.
And, most grocery store chains do provide some type of catering.
Great.
And so they do provide catering. They will allow you to either bring food in, some limited foods, but they, obviously hope that you utilize the services of their catering and bakery departments.
Wow.
So amazing. They're just, you really don't know what type of venues are out there until you actually start checking around. But when it does come to venues, we want to make sure that you know how many people can the room accommodate.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that is very crucial when finding a venue. Start with your guest list.
Yes.
You have to know how many people you want to attend your event. And, word of mouth travels extremely fast. And where there is food, and or liquor, they will come. So you have to be very mindful of, when you do your invites. And again, I know that everyone's used to the technology age, send a text, send a tweet or something. But when you're inviting folks to a formal event, I would highly recommend being very formal and doing that in writing so that you can have control over the number of people that show up at your event. And having a good coordinator helps because if you have a guest list, the coordinator will work from the guest list. And you always want to encourage people to RSVP. That is one thing that our current society, their etiquette on RSVP is just not there.
It's not.
And
it's not.
it's a common courtesy to the host and the hostess to let them know that you're going to attend.
So the next time you go to a party and they run out of food, and you start complaining, I want that person that you complained to, I want you to ask, did you RSVP? Because that's the purpose of making sure that everyone has a seat and everyone has plenty to eat.
Exactly.
I mean, it does not make sense for any person to go out and spend money for food for 100 people,
Right.
and they've only heard from 25 people. They
Exactly.
probably did their due diligence and said, let's just get a little extra. We only heard from 25 people. We'll get enough food for 50. And then when 75 or 100 people show up, we're the first ones. That's a no-no. That's a no-no. You should always RSVP.
Exactly.
Now at that point, drop a text, drop an email. If you don't have a formal RSVP to send in, and RSVP just means respond.
Give a call.
Respondez s'il vous plaît,
Correct.
I believe is what it
That is
stands
what
for
it stands for.
technically.
That is
But
it.
it means respond. It means let someone know that you're coming so that I can have accommodations for you, so that I can have enough drinks and enough food and enough plates and cutlery and everything, and that can become a nightmare. But make sure that you know that what your venue can hold. And then find out what you can do as far as decorating a venue. There are lots of limitations now.
No tax.
No tape.
Exactly.
No glitter, things. If you're like me, I'm a magpie. I love shiny things,
Yes.
but these shiny things have to be contained because
No
a lot
candles.
of no candles,
Flames, no flames.
no flames. Yep, you have to be very, very cognizant of flames. A lot of venues will let you have candles, but they have to be covered or they have to be enclosed, which means you're going to have them in glassware, or you're going to have to, make accommodations, or you're going to have to put a little extra money in your budget to make sure that you have battery operated or things like that. And sometimes even if you can have candles, they have to be dripless, and there are lots and lots of limitations. And so you want to make sure that you know that.
Questions,
definitely. Yes. Food is a big issue. Can you bring in your own food? Do you have to use in-house catering? Everything. My uncle once told me, he's like one of my best friends, and he's a true mentor to me, and he's been extremely successful. He's the reason I came to Omaha, but he said something to me, and it was at a graduation celebration, and he wanted to purchase the cap and gown and the draping that his daughter had. She was graduating from medical school, and he said, she'll be doing a lot of commencement ceremonies, and he said, I'm here, this fits her well, and so instead of renting, which is what he had done, he went to, the person who was there representing the company that had rented all of these caps and gowns to the graduates, med school, and he said, I would like to purchase that. And she said, oh, no, no, we don't do that. And everything can be bought.
Exactly.
And he said, this is perfect, and this is something that in this moment I can, I'm seeing in the future that, I want to do this. So, everything's negotiable. And that includes catering and in-house food and, rental. Everything is negotiable.
And decorations.
Decorations.
Be aware that just because you are renting a venue,
Yes.
they are not responsible, not accountable for any decorations,
Yes.
centerpieces, anything. So make sure that if you do not have your own decorations, that you inquire of your venue, is that included?
Yeah, it's a very good point. A very, very good point, and because not everyone will provide decorations at any given time. So, you negotiate on those things. Do I have to meet a certain budget? And then once I've met that budget, as far as, say, for beverages or for food, then am I able to bring in, items? And it could be, just snack items or, of course, your desserts and, for most celebrations, graduations and weddings and baby showers, everything, most often they do involve a cake.
Yes.
Or some type of dessert. And so you just want to make sure that you can bring all those things. And that's
all
it.
they'll let you bring is the specialty cake.
That's
and that's it.
But negotiate,
Yes,
and if you don't feel
definitely.
comfortable, you need to contact someone who's familiar with many venues or who has the negotiating skills that you lack, and we'll see what we can do as far as that is concerned.
And we'll make sure we give you the number on how to contact us on
Yeah.
that.
So, and for those of you who are watching us live, www.pspartiesandevents.com, and or email me at psevents@cox.net. And just like the couple of questions, or only like 3 questions, but more than one time did I get those same questions asked of me since the last time we were there. Another thing, there's so many different things to take into consideration when it comes to the venue. And again, I cannot stress, other than something that looks like it's been through a war zone, I just
been
feel,
there.
I know we have. I feel that every venue can be transformed.
Yes.
There are some exceptions, and actually there are some challenges, but I do believe that every venue, even when there are holes in the ceilings, there are ways to mask that.
Paint
and
all over the
and
carpet.
paint, and Gina and I, we will
Holes
forever
in the
remember
wall.
that a wedding where we had to basically put down new flooring and new wall coverings just to make sure that
The
that-
photographs
that
went well.
the memories. You take a photograph and you're like, oh, I didn't know that hole was in the wall. Well, it was covered and it was camouflaged, and so that's one thing. You want to find out about deposits and refund policies and all of those different things when you're looking at venues. And one item that comes up a lot when I do party planning is how long is the venue available, the time, and what time can I get in, and what am I responsible for? Because obviously whatever I take into a party, I want to take out of the party.
Correct.
That's not edible or worn or something like that. It's not meant to go home with the party
Right.
guest, then that's going to come back with us. And so you want to know, what times you can get in. What are the hours of operation, I guess, for the room? And are you going to have exclusive use of the room?
And again, the availability is really important. I just did a corporate event just here this last month, and we were told that setup would be first thing in the morning. And so I figured I'd give them a little while to make sure that everything was cleared out and arranged accordingly. Well, when I got there to do the centerpiece portion, half of the tables were covered.
Oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
that kind of defeated my purpose, So it really, you have to make sure that you have a good coordinator, or the person that you're dealing with at that venue, that you have communications with them. And when the event gets closer, you need to have weekly communication with that venue, then daily communication with that venue. And you definitely want to talk to them a couple of days before to confirm when your venue will be available to come in and set up. Of course, the night before is always fantastic when you have to set up and transform, but even if it's first thing in the morning, depending on when your event is,
True.
you want to make sure that you give yourself at least a 4, maybe even 6 hour leeway, just to make sure that everything, because hiccups do happen.
Hiccups happen.
Running to Walmart at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I love 24-hour
I
stores,
tell
though.
you, you and me
because
too. You
there
and
will
me
always
too.
be things, but just think about having someone else worry about all of those
Exactly.
things, and you don't have to, let Gina and I be the ones out at Wally World or wherever it
At
happens
2
to be.
a.m.
At 2 a.m.
we are an equal opportunity shopper
At 2
anytime.
a.m. Yes, I am. But it's fabulous because I've gotten some of my best deals, and they don't do that like they used to. But there was a time when you could go, and sometimes in the middle of the night, they would mark everything in the clearance section 50% off.
Right.
I do believe that my sister and I, this is one of the reasons that we have such a stockpile, is because of those 2 a.m. Runs that we've made to try to get something last minute.
Exactly,
But,
to make a venue, to transform a
Yeah,
venue.
yeah,
Because again,
absolutely.
we have walked into places and we've looked at each other and thought, okay.
And it's not a matter of, if it's not a matter of if it can be transformed, it's just like, where do we start?
Right. We
So
try
where
to
do we
take
start?
small bites, I tell you.
Small bites. So, and again, just keeping in mind that even with the best planning, things will not necessarily work out the way you plan. If you have a checklist, I am a checklist guru. I'm a checklist person, and I just feel as long as you go over it and you check off everything that you can possibly think of that you want to make sure it gets done.
Right.
That's probably the best way. That's the best way for me to make sure I'm a checklist person, and I'm also a timeline person. So, and our wedding event the weekend at the Wedding Chapel, I mean, we still have slots available. So if you know anyone who's getting married and they've been saying, I can't get married, I can't afford it, whatever, no excuses.
Now you can.
No, now you can. We need to utilize the services that are available. You'll have great memories, a beautiful backdrop and venue, much better than something so cold and stark as some of the places and the options that you do have.
Right.
But I remember when I got married and my husband said, let's just go see the judge. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But for me, that just wouldn't do. And so I had a very small ceremony, but in, a chapel, part of the church. And it was something that we planned 2 days. We planned it 2 days in advance, and we got married. And next month is our 25th wedding anniversary. So I'm a witness to it. I practice what I preach. I definitely practice what I preach, and I preach what I know works. But it's all no holds barred. Everything is going to be there, but timelines will be very important. Timelines are very important,
Yes.
and we just make sure that we get everybody in and out.
And on this one, you will have to RSVP.
Yes.
You will have to schedule an appointment.
You will.
This is going to be absolutely phenomenal for the Omaha area. It's something new that we're bringing to the Omaha area. We're bringing the venue to you. There's nothing for you to do but to schedule your appointment, get beautiful,
Get dressed,
and get
yeah.
handsome on that day, and come on in. Invite your guests if you like, and come and see us. So we look forward to it.
I do also invite so people that are thinking about it, and now that you know that we will be having another wedding event for Valentine's Day,
Right.
February 14th is a Saturday, 2015, and we will have another wedding event. I have invited everyone, and I'll post it on my website, also on mywedding.com. I'm listed there as under wedding and event planners. Facebook, we'll let everyone know. Probably the only thing I haven't done is Instagram, all of that. So I don't know, just not there yet, but I will. But I do invite everyone to come out and get a feel and see what it is that we're offering at these wedding events and these wedding chapels, this traveling chapel, if you will.
Exactly.
Until God blesses me with a standalone venue, this is what we'll do. We'll
When.
set it up.
When.
Yeah,
When that
when
happens.
He happens. Yeah, when he gives it to me or when he
When
allows
that
that to
happens.
happen. And he's, everything, the groundwork is being laid, and so that's going to happen very, very quickly and very soon here. But I'm going to invite everyone to come out just to look, just to see. But yes, please, even if it's Friday, you have until Friday 4:30 to get down to the marriage license office
right.
if you want to get married at the wedding event on Saturday, 12, 13, 14. Again, a date you should never forget. And it won't roll around again. We won't have another consecutive classic wedding date like that for over 20 years, and 12, 13, 14 won't happen for another 100 years.
Yes.
Yeah, so it'll be 21, 12, 13, 14, but
Exactly.
and it won't be a Saturday. Well, probably won't be.
And for those of you who are bringing gifts to the wedding event, or if you're getting done with your holiday shopping. We are counting down the days to Christmas. We are also offering gift wrapping services through Joyous Occasions, and myself and a team of designers are giving quality professional design gift wrapping services on a very good budget. So if you have any questions or you'd like to schedule an appointment with a designer, you can go to jumpingthebroom.jtb@gmail.com. That's jumpingthebroom.jtb@gmail.com. And so send us an email and let us know that you're interested, and we will certainly get back with you and get an appointment scheduled for you.
Yep. So, when it starts to, our party style, your party style, we will blend everything together. We'll make it happen. That's what we do. That's our passion. That's our love. And you utilize the seasoned veterans. We are seasoned veterans in the party industry. But we also keep abreast of what's contemporary and what's going on and what's popular. And but again, I always encourage everyone to bring their ideas forward, put them on the table. No matter how far out the box it may appear to you, I can almost guarantee you we'll make something happen.
Exactly.
We'll help you with a memorable event, and we'll make sure that all of your hard work, all of your nervousness, and all of your money is well
that all
spent.
away from you.
We'll take it all away, and we'll help you create amazing memories.
Yes.
For your loved ones, and for you, whatever the case may be, even if it's just you and one loved one. But just to wind up there, Gina, I gave them some of my best decorating advice. Is there any one thing that you can say for our party planners out there? What's your best decorating advice, biggest money-saving tip, or whatever it is?
Again, push for the RSVPs. Know your guest. Manage your guest list. And if you have a dream, everything starts with a dream.
It does.
We've done fairy tale princess weddings to just very basic, very simple, 24 hours pretty much.
24-hour notice.
But
4 hours was
I
my
think that
record.
was probably
That was my
the
record,
minimum.
4 hours notice.
But again, as Gwen said, no idea is out of the pocket. Anything can be done. And PS Party Balloons, we'll get it done for you.
Absolutely.
We'll get it done for you.
Absolutely. So we'll be back sometime in 2015 to talk with you a little bit more about your party style. We thank you for spending a little bit of your time with us this evening, and we just want you to party on and have a great time. Create some memories. We'll help you if you need us to.
And gift wrapping services, again, jumpingthebroom.jtb.com or @gmail.com. So we're ready for all your gift wrapping.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Have a great night.
Bye-bye.